Hello everyone, welcome to Dice on Ice. My name is Em, and tonight is Strahd Night, episode 25, The Puppet Master. Now, the last episode was a little crazy. We had Eli and Jean fall into the tapestry, and we got to see last session what that looked like, and it might have been a little bit unexpected as they fell into this town, this very odd scrubland, bright light, sun shining town, where Eli actually got to dig himself out of his own grave. They were thought he was dead, and when he came out, they were overjoyed, to a very confused Eli who did not recognize any of them. They rushed him home to his expectant wife, perhaps a little bit surprised. Jean wakes up as well, not knowing where she is or what is happening in this strange world, but she is the commander of the garrisoned unit, essentially, in this town. And they try to leave. That did not work to their favor as much as they thought. And then we jumped back to Fel and Corla, who had escaped the tapestry, gone out into the hallway, and surprisingly, there was one monk left chanting the great chant, the chant that is supposed to banish all of the darkness from this tapestry, but clearly it wasn't working anymore as he was being overcome by these black tendrils that was emanating from the tapestry. They managed to save him, and they met with Fel's doppelganger, who was very different from when we saw her the last time. She was now in this odd chrysalid type thing where she was almost turning into more monster than human. Something interesting that they found on her was that she had the limbs, her limbs and the ligaments, like her elbows and her knees, were that of joints that you would find on a wooden doll. And they defeated her after a triumphant re-entry of Everchild, who came in to save the day, much to the confusion of the others who clearly remember burying him. And then they went to the library to try and figure out anything they could about this tapestry and possibly a way to release Eli and Jean. But unfortunately, there wasn't much information since the library had recently, after it's been a few years, but the library has been burned, so they basically had to start from scratch. Although Fell did discover that there is one thing common with all of the nightmares that the monks and anyone who visits the tapestry experience, which is this hooded figure that they see in their periphery at all times, just watching, never coming closer or going farther away. Brother Vitruvius made constant mention to the wanderer who had given them the tapestry, who had implored them to take care of it and to protect it since he could not anymore. He taught them everything they knew about this, and when we left off, the four of them were on their way to the orphanage to see if there were any survivors. So we will see then. We'll jump right into it now. You four are standing at the end of this hallway. The door is locked. What would you like to do?
Is there a key somewhere that you might know, potentially, that we could use to unlock this?
Brother Vitruvius, you would know that it is not very often that this door gets locked. Father Lucian keeps most of the keys on him, but there may be some keys in his office, hopefully, if they weren't on him. And some of the other orphanage workers also had keys to get in and out, but you haven't seen any of them.
And I would relay that to everyone. It is most unusual that the doors should be locked, but Brother that's me, Father Lucian, was the keeper of the keys and carried most of them. As we've not seen many of the other monks, perhaps we should find Father Lucian, or what remains of him, or perhaps in his office he has keys there.
Or I could try to open it myself.
That's a fair point. It might actually be faster if you'd like to try that, Cora.
Have you found keys that I was unaware of?
And silently, she would open up her backpack, which is actually a backpack, and pull out a small pouch of, little tools here and there. Some of them are curved and bent, and others are straight and filed. And she pulls out a few and starts to work on the lock. I'm going to try to pick the lock.
Perfect. Yep. You can use your thieves' tools to try and do that.
I see you've brought your own keys. Clever.
So that's just a dex check with proficiency, right? Is that?
Yes, I believe so.
Typically, yes.
Yeah, okay, there it is. Oh, that's a really bad roll. I think my lock pick that I picked breaks off in the lock because I rolled a nat 1.
I will say, you can roll me a perception check with advantage for me, please.
Okay, so that's a little bit better. Perception. That'll be a 24.
So you've perhaps, picked a few locks in your day. This isn't the first rodeo you've been on, and you can feel from the lock, it's been jammed. As well as you feel this extra resistance against your lock picking, against the door. Like, you can just feel that it doesn't feel quite right. Either there's something pressing up against the door, but also the lock has been jammed.
I will not be able to open this. And that has nothing to do with me not knowing how or not enough skills. No, it is because the lock is jammed and there is something inside and I cannot get into it properly. Is there another way into this room? Or
you all would have seen that there were windows. There were windows, as well as a way to get out of the orphanage through another means, like an exit to the outdoors, essentially, that isn't connected to the church.
So we're basically in like this hallway, yes?
Yes.
Yes, there are other ways from the exterior in which to get in. If worse comes to worse, we can always go through a window. Follow me, and I will lead to the nearest exit to the exterior.
Hold on a moment, and Fell is actually going to just knock on the door, just to see if anything happens.
or
if there's any
there's
sounds.
that.
Do you press your ear up against the door, or...
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. Give me a... perception.
I am average at those. First roll of the night for me is an 8.
You hear nothing on this other side of this door.
Right, so we could try a window, or you just said that maybe there's a spare set of keys in Father Lucian's office, Brother Vitruvius. Maybe we could try that before we start going through windows.
We can stop by Father Lucian's office as we head outside, yes.
Perfect, let's do that. We go.
Perfect. So
now I will lead them to the exterior by way of Father Lucian's office.
right, and if you'll remember, you all blocked off the larger entrance that Everchild had essentially smashed through.
Yes, that's right.
So that way will not be as easy to get out, but there are other ways. There is even the way that you had crawled out in the sanctuary, or in the tapestry room, but I'm not sure if you guys want to go back there.
No, we don't. Are we able to access Father Lucian's office as we are moving towards the main exit of the church?
Father Lucian's office would be upstairs, so you would have to go back up in the way of the library, past that, more so.
Okay, so I imagine we'll probably do that before getting too close to this blocked up exit.
Okay.
And just head in that direction.
Perfect. So as you're heading up in this direction, you can see that the tapestry has noticed your presence, if that makes sense. You can see that the vines and these tendrils have grown longer, and they wrap around more things, and they seem to move faster. As before they were just like these stationary objects, they now look as if they are squirming and moving and writhing, making the church almost come alive You can see the walls just undulating as you're passing by them. As you walk upstairs, you can see that Father Lucian's office, Brother Vitruvius, the door is closed, which is also quite odd. Father Lucian often does not close his doors, as you have known him to be a very, very kind man who always has a door open whenever he is in there to welcome any monk who would seek help or assistance. And you can see that the vines are these tendrils. They're not really vines. They don't have that leafiness to them, but these tendrils almost seem to be more concentrated around this door. They seem to have blocked it out almost completely. And so to even get to the door handle, you would have to cut through them.
I think as we're moving into this area, just almost instinctively, Brother Vitruvius has begun sort of under his breath chanting. And just it sounds like almost like a mumbling. But if you listen close, you would recognize that it sounds similar to the chants that he was doing when you first encountered him. If we are determined to make our way in there, then we'll have to deal with these.
I mean, Carla and I were able to cut the tendrils back in the main area of the church with our silvered blades. So perhaps if we all attack at once, we could clear most of them and then scour the rest. We just need to do this quickly. Maybe on the count of 3.
All right.
Right.
I just thunk my staff on the ground, and that blade comes out of the tip.
And Fel will actually take a moment and kind of concentrate, and she will conjure up like a fist-sized ball of teal fire in her hand, preparing to cast a firebolt cantrip. Right. Everchild, you ready?
I'll give a quick nod.
What kind of a monk am I?
A chanty one. A chanting monk.
It's not showing up on my... Like, it's not telling me...
I thought you were a Way of the Long Death.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh.
I got confused with your character in the last thing that we did. I was thinking I was Way of the Sun Soul, and I was like, oh, I got something I could do. Nope, I can't.
Badass. Right. 1, 2, 3. And Fel's going to fling the firebolt at the kind of like the densest part of these tendrils blocking the door.
All right. I need everyone, please, to make me an attack roll. Who is trying to hit this thing, and simultaneously I need everyone to also make me a dexterity saving throw, please.
Sure.
Please, and put what you got in the chat so I can...
All right. That was a dexterity saving throw, you said?
Yes, please. So, simultaneously, as soon as you all attack these tendrils at once, you come in and this cacophony of sounds, blades hitting, magic being cast and thrown, and simultaneously you hear the slicing sound and hissing of these tendrils beginning to recede. You all feel it's when a predator is approaching its prey, you feel that tingling on the back of your neck, the hairs raise, and instinctively you move. And it's just in time as you see these very small tendrils attempting, you think, to go into each of your ears. As you kind of like dodge back, you see the tendril kind of strike forth almost like a snake and recoil back slowly. But you have, with those rolls, I won't make you roll damage. I was just, those attacks were more to see if you hit some of the more important tendrils in this door, and did. And you can see now the door handle and a bit of the seam of the door that you have opened up.
Yeah, I imagine if we just dodged ear-probing tendrils, Fella's probably going to just rush forward and try to fling the door open and get inside Father Lucian's office as quickly as possible. Because that's horrifying.
Great. So you fling it open. It is unlocked. It takes a little bit of strength to force it open, to kind of snap these last few tendrils. And as soon as you do, you see Father Lucian sitting slumped at his desk, hands down, out in front of him, splayed open, and you see his desk is a mess of papers and ink is being spilled over. Bookshelves are toppled, there's scorch marks. And you see one of these tendrils in both ears of Father Lucian.
And Fel kind of looks from one tendril to another and then back to the others. Let's get inside, and then maybe we can cut these. It just looks like one tendril in each ear? Or is it like multiple tendrils in each?
It's just one tendril in each ear, and you see that they snake up towards the ceiling.
Maybe we can try and cut these, but we need to all get in this room. So as soon as everybody's in, Fel's actually going to take it upon herself to close the door. And then she'll actually pull out her dagger, not trusting herself to cast magic so close to somebody like this, and then kind of look to the others.
Sorry, I keep getting myself and Father Lucian mixed up. I would immediately, not even waiting, once coming in and seeing, and especially seeing Fel with the dagger pulled, I would pull my own dagger and immediately rush over to Father Lucian, looking at these tendrils, and then looking up to where they're snaking up to the ceiling to see what I see. Do they disappear? Is there something lurking up above waiting to drop on our heads?
You look up and you see that there's this very dense mat of these tendrils, very similar to what it looked like at the door. They seem to be moving and writhing. You see a couple of them slide over each other, seemingly reacting to your entrance in.
I immediately reach a hand out towards Fel, who I imagine was reaching with the dagger towards Father Lucian's one of these ear tendrils, and I just stop her hand and I point up.
Oh.
We need to look.
She'll just nod.
And then, without trying to disturb anything and trying to be quiet, I'm going to start looking around the desk and Father Lucian himself to see if I can find keys or anything else.
You begin searching through the desk, through drawers. Maybe you even search through where you know Father Lucian has kept his keys in the past. You can't find anything, so you turn to Father Lucian, and this close to him, and anyone else who gets this close, you can actually notice that he is still breathing. You see the steady rise and fall of his back as he's kind of slumped over. Would you reach into his pockets?
I don't think I would. I think that sort of just assuming he was dead, I started looking around. But seeing that he is still breathing, I think the others might hear. And I immediately stopped searching. I wouldn't search him, and I'm trying to assess him. Now at this point I'm turning complete attention to Father Lucian to see if it looks like there's anything we can do short of and maybe up to actually cutting these tendrils like we were. Well, somebody else can search his pockets if you want to. I'm not doing it.
Everchild, what are you doing in this room?
He's looking about at this strangeness, this corruption of this holier place, and he's bewildered, confused, emotive, even at the nastiness of it all. He probably recognizes just as quick as Brother Vitruvius of the health and I guess and liveliness, I guess, of this father, and just believe probably would even like hustle over to his side to just tend to him, I guess, in a strange way. He would inspect the ear tendrils and see if he can find the root of this man's not illness, this I guess wound, this harm is being done to this father. Let's see if we can fix it.
As you look over, you see a surprising lack of wounds, open wounds, or scars, or anything, which, determining from the state of the room with everything toppled over and there are even scorch marks, you find extremely surprising that there's nothing on him except for these two tendrils.
Yeah, he's looking at those two tendrils more focusedly, seeing there's no other real wounds to him, wondering what he can really do about it. If it seems that they're buried into the skin, or are they, free to move around, etc. Like
they are in the ear, so it's kind of difficult to see. They're that thin that they can just kind of disappear into the ear.
About how high is the ceiling in here?
I'd probably say about 10 feet.
Oof. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if Brother Vitruvius is making no move to search Father Lucian for his keys, Fel not wanting to really waste any time, trying to be careful not to disturb the massive tendrils on the ceiling, she will move past him and try to find the keys on Father Lucian's person.
As soon as you touch a garment on Father Lucian, you feel a sudden movement as Father Lucian moves and grips onto your shoulders. Looking at you with this, you can see that his eyes are white. They have no irises, no pupils. They're completely devoid of color. As he looks at you, you can now see that there are veins coming from the ears that you couldn't see before that are kind of spidering out around his mouth and nose, not unlike that of Elizabeth Durst when you saw her I guess face before these black spidering veins. It's very similar with Father Lucian, and he immediately grips you, Fel, and is going to like almost pin you against the wall, like not moving your arms. How do the rest of you react?
Corla would immediately jump to Fel's aid by trying to slash the dagger into Father Lucian.
I'm not even going to make you make an attack. He's right there. This is very close quarters. You have no trouble. You have no trouble slashing and just stabbing into him. No blood leaves his body as the dagger is put into his skin. You see nothing leaks out. The dagger sticks in. Fel, you see his face inches from your own, and you smell the stench of rot and decay. And he opens his mouth as if he wanted to say words, but all that comes out is this clicking noise.
Right. So, you said that he had her kind of like by her shoulders. Is that correct? So these tendrils in his ears, I'm assuming, are they kind of like moving with him, I assume, since they're actually in the ears?
Yeah, you see that they retain the same amount of tightness, but you have seen that the one has dropped, and the other tendril has seemed to go up further into the wall. It almost seems that they're moving him around.
Gotcha. So would it be possible, I know she can't like lift her arms too much because her shoulders are pinned. Would it be possible for her to try and reach out and grab the one tendril? Is that within like gripping distance since he's right up on her?
Yes, I would have to. I think you would have to make a strength check though, because he's kind of holding your, like, not your shoulders, but kind of almost like your upper arms.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So just a straight strength check?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I imagine almost instinctively she tries to reach out, some teal-colored electricity kind of crackling around her hand as she tries to grab not the father, but the tendril that is still piloting him. Strength check. Ooh, buddy. That is an 8.
For someone who was quite elderly, he has an amazing strength to him. He doesn't even budge as you try to move against him.
Gotcha. So kind of feeling that and kind of moving her head away from his face as far as she can, she would just call out, say, "There's fucking somebody cut the tendril, don't hurt him, cut the damn tendril." And she's going to try and kind of like wriggle out of his grip. But again, he's probably got maybe not that much weight on her, but if anything, he's not as freaked out as she is.
I'll need you to make a dexterity saving throw, please, at disadvantage.
I've rolled more 8s tonight. That is a 8, actually, total. 6 plus 2. Just 8s, 8s, 8s.
To the rest of your horror, Father Lucian is holding Fel there, and you see a single tendril creeping down the ceiling, and it strikes so quickly, Fel, that you can't move, but also you feel the fear, and you know you should move, but you cannot, as you suddenly feel this piercing pain in your head. And the rest of you see this tendril strike Fel and burrow into her ear. And Fel, everything goes dark for you. Sorry, go ahead.
Is this... So the tendrils attacked Fel, correct?
Yes.
How high is the ceiling in here?
10 feet.
10 feet. How far away am I from Fel? I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can be right up, right there.
I'm wondering if I can attack at the tendrils with my sentinel feet. When a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against a target other than you, you can use your reaction to make a melee weapon attack against it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, there's a snap judgment that Brother Vitruvius makes in this moment, realizing that Father Lucian is gone and something needs to be done, or we're all going to be this way. I lash out with the staff at the tendril attacking Fel. And I believe that's a +6. That's a 16 to hit.
That's a hit, absolutely.
Which would deal 7 points of slashing.
You very easily cut through this tendril. And as soon as it's cut, you see the tendril fall out from Fel and almost drops to the ground, continuing to writhe. Fel, this has seemed like an eternity to you. Darkness constantly. You don't know which way is up or down. You don't have any faculty over your senses but you begin to see something. It's almost as if you are very, very far away from it, but going, just charging forward very, very quickly towards it. And you see that it is a town. A town of scrubland and small, shanty-looking buildings. And you see 2 people you recognize. You see Jean and you see Eli. And they are walking around, talking with each other, confusion plastered on their face. You see the townspeople around them, and they're reacting normally, but Fel, you see these townspeople as grotesque beings. Monsters with eyes that are too big for their head. Some of them have many heads, too innumerable to count. Some have arms that stretch out feet at a time, and some their necks grow and twist in this snake-like fashion. Their teeth, their smiles are so wide and pointed, and yet Eli and Jean are not running from them. They are looking, they are talking with them. Something else that you see, Fel, behind Eli and Jean, their shadows mimic these monsters. They look exactly like them. You can see that these shadows have heads that are coming out of different body parts. You can see that that Jean's shadow is distended and bloated and looks way too large for what Jean looks like, and walks with a gait that is completely not her own. With Eli, you see long fingers that drag on the floor, sharp nails accompanying them. And then you blink. And you are back in the study. Father Lucian inches from your face, still moving his mouth as if to speak, but nothing coming out but this clicking noise.
So after seeing this, especially after seeing Eli and John, and as you kind of described it, she was like rushing towards them in this vision and then seeing these horrible monsters and their deformed shadows. I think, again, acting purely on instinct and rage, Fel is going to, with both hands this time, just lash out towards this tendril in Father Lucian's ear once she reorients herself and try to cast Shocking Grasp on it. Not even paying attention to what anyone else is doing at this point, just completely focused on getting this thing out of his ear. So maybe if he knows something, she might be able to talk to him, or the group might be able to talk to him.
Okay. Since you're trying to get the tendrils, I think you need to make another strength check.
Okay.
To see if you can even get your arms up to that.
Well, let's see how this goes. Well, that's even worse. That's a 3. So probably not.
Well, that beats his nat 1 that he rolled.
Oh, excellent. I'll take it.
Yep. So you're able to, just with this fury that has gone through you, able to lift up your arms. And how does Shocking Grasp work?
It's a touch spell, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you can just roll damage.
Okay, great. Let me double check. All right, that is 2d8. Oh wow, that's almost max damage. That is a total of 13 points of lightning damage. I kind of imagine as she kind of manages to raise her arms, her eyes are wide, her already pale face is completely drained of color, and she lets out this sort of like quiet snarl. She just grabs this tendril, and these crackling arcs of teal-colored lightning just erupt from her fingers, kind of zapping it, maybe even like eating away at it, almost like an acid, as she kind of waits to see what happens with Father Lucian.
Similar to when Brother Vitruvius hit your tendril with his staff, similarly you cut the tendril quite easily. The tendrils where you had grabbed them, and as soon as you do so, the tendrils that are still connected to the ceiling, they retreat back up, but the ones in Father Lucian's ear kind of slither down and drop, writhing on the floor, and you can feel Father Lucian collapse.
I think as he collapses, I would sort of spin my staff around so the blade's pointed down at where he lands, still in that sort of mental switch, and just in a stance watching to see what happens. Not taking an immediate action, but with Fel suddenly snapping to and doing this, just looking to see if there's anything that happens with Father Lucian after he falls. Basically, I guess mechanically I'm holding in action. If he looks like he's going to lash out or attack at anybody, then I'm going to drive my spear right through his face.
Corla, what are you doing through all of this?
I was trying to keep a hold of my dagger. You said it kind of got jammed inside of it. So trying to wrestle that loose to potentially go after the tendrils. Meanwhile, Felitha manages to get out. So she'd still be trying to free her dagger. I'm not going to leave that on this creature. Don't care if I have to rock it back and forth or rip and tear. She's going to remove this dagger.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't feel any different than just a normal person, so you're able to wrench it out.
And just looking at his face, is his face he didn't have irises before? He just had the white. Is he still like that?
His eyes are closed at the moment, but you can see immediately you notice that these veins, these spidery black veins around his face have retreated and are gone, essentially.
But he smells of death and decaying flesh.
He does, yeah. You do, if you were to get closer to him, you would see that the shallow, very ragged breaths now that were once consistent and deep are now shallow, very ragged, as he does open his eyes, and you can see the pupils and the irises, they have returned, and he looks normal. He looks around as if he doesn't recognize any of you, but his eyes land on Brother Vitruvius, and those he does show recognition. He lifts his arm very weakly as if to gesture to you to come closer. You're muted if you are talking.
That's why I never mute myself. Seeing his eyes open up and he seems to be normal, I would immediately drop down to a knee next to him. Father Lucian, is it really you? Are you all right?
Quickly, brother. There is a book in my drawer underneath. You must find him. Find him.
Immediately, I look at Corla or Everchild, one of them, and I just point. The desk, a book. Find who? Father Lucian, who?
I think Corla would immediately do that because she's right there anyway. So she would be looking in the desk for that, whatever he's talking about.
So you look in the desks and they, you don't see anything at first. But you see that, in fact, in one of the larger drawers aren't as deep as you would think that it should be upon opening it.
I cannot find it. Oh, wait. Tunk, tunk. And she'd use her, the dagger to hear the sound. Maybe there's something here after all. And I'm going to try to see if I can figure out how to...
Yeah, you can definitely hear that the dagger hits against hollow, thin wood. You could look and see where this button is, but the wood looks very thin. You think you could probably, if you wanted to, even just break through it. It's kind of like balsa wood, right? It's quite thin.
Yeah, I think in the stage we're in, with this thing still kind of hanging over our heads, that I'm not going to take the time to look. I'm just going to use the pommel end of the dagger and punch through the wood.
you do so, and it doesn't take long, and you find a black-bound, quite small, leather-bound book beneath in this wooden compartment, as well as you find a larger vial of some sort of clear liquid. Meanwhile, Father Lucian he looks at you, Brother Vitruvius. I'm sorry, I didn't act quick enough. I'm sorry. I thought she could be saved. I was wrong.
Who? Who are you trying to save?
And you see Father Lucian's eyes, painfully so, look over to Fel. And then back to you. You must find him. You must not accept any answer, any excuse from him. You must help us.
Who?
The Wanderer. I'm... And Father Lucian goes silent.
Like, dead silent?
He does not breathe anymore.
If he appears to be truly dead, then I would do the classic reach up and just draw my hand across his face and close his eyes. We need to take this book, and we need to get out of here. Figure out what we need to do to find the Wanderer.
What is the massive tendrils on the ceiling doing right now, Megan?
They're suspiciously unmoving. Extremely quiet.
Okay. So Fel has sort of been standing there. I imagine her gaze has kind of been jumping from the ceiling to Brother Vitruvius, and then down to Father Lucian, and then back up to the ceiling, then back to Brother Vitruvius, then finally to Father Lucian. Yeah, she's going to just again in this fit of anger and realizing that we haven't really encountered a safe spot since we've been in here. She's going to kind of clear her throat and just very quietly say, we could make this place some sort of haven of sorts. We just need to clear these off the ceiling. And she's going to actually throw a firebolt up at the ceiling.
Absolutely. And I mean, I won't make you make an attack roll because they're so thick. You're going to hit one. So okay. You just need to... Actually, I'm going to get you to roll me a D100 to see what percentage of these tendrils you manage to singe.
8%.
These rolls, 40%.
I thought you were going to roll another 8.
So,
I'm telling you what, man.
So you throw this fireball up, and you see that most of the tendrils are singed. They're quite easy, it seems, to get rid of. They're not very hardy, but there's a lot of them. And though you get most on the ceiling, you notice maybe to your to your disappointment that there are still some on the walls and on the floor.
So here's the thing: is I imagine one, because she she is so enraged by having been offered this glimpse of Eli and John, and then having that snatched away, also not even knowing if they are themselves at this point anymore, compounded by Father Lucian's death, and because Firebolt is a cantrip, just fueled by rage, she's just going to start flinging these fireballs at any places where the tendrils still hold sway in the office, effectively trying to clear the interior of the office to the best of her ability without hitting anybody if possible.
Perfect. Yeah. You begin to do this, and I'll say it'll take some time, and you will probably immolate some of the shelves and the books around you. But this place is mostly made from stone, so anything that burns isn't long. But after you're done, though it is devoid of tendrils, it is completely blackened with soot.
And she'll look over to you, Everchild. Is there anything you can do for Father Lucian?
Child looks at the now still man with a face of peace that's on his face. Everchild looks up to you and will shake his head.
I imagine Fel just kind of wherever she's at, I guess probably kind of over near a wall, she just sort of slides down to the ground in the soot and just kind of sits and just sort of stares kind of to the middle distance for a few moments, not saying anything.
Corla is rummaging through the desk looking for a key.
You do not find it in any of the desks. You do find some other paperwork, some missives, some just general churchy things. Kind of you find a report of the expenses that the church has had, and you do find quite a few letters that Father Lucian had kept between himself and the Baron. Interestingly, it seems as though the Baron would not speak to Father Lucian directly, but instead sent a multitude of very passive-aggressive letters stating the various affairs that he did not like that the church was doing.
Of course. Once the desk has been thoroughly searched and she finds nothing, she's going to turn her attentions to the now dead father and search his clothing for said key.
Once you look through, it doesn't take long before you do in fact find a number of keys. This is very obviously the master set of keys.
What did you do with the book? May I see it?
Oh, of course. Here you go. And she would pass it over to Brother Vitruvius.
Do I recognize this book at all?
Yes, in fact, you would. You would have seen Father Lucian carry this book around quite a bit with him, but he would never show it to anyone, not being overly suspicious with it. But you and the other monks, you might have always just assumed it was like a personal prayer book or something to do with the church, him being the father, maybe the confessions of people. You weren't sure, but it was something that he kept always on him and very close to his chest.
So one, I will open the book and begin looking through it. And two, if Father Lucian is gone, and most, if not all of the monks are gone, am I now Father Vitruvius?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You would know that I mean, there would have to be some sort of official ceremony, a naming of the next father, but you can safely assume that being the probably the last monk, odds are good that you would definitely be promoted.
All right. Well, I wouldn't say anything to the others about it, but that was just more for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm absolutely going to start flipping through this book, looking for just to see what it is and anything that stands out.
And so you see, you recognize the handwriting, the very, very neat handwriting of Father Lucian, and you see that this was in fact, there are a few prayers in here, a few different stanzas of some texts that he probably favorited, but this was more of a journal that he kept, musings of his thoughts on different matters happening, and you can see that at the beginning they go back, the entries go back years, and so as you're kind of flipping through it, looking, you can see he begins to speak about the Wanderer. The pertinent information in it, he describes the Wanderer as a very odd man who remained cloaked throughout their visit and only talked in parables and riddles and statements of just very, very sometimes gruesome prophecies. And you can see as well that Father Lucian immediately took pity on this man. He seemed quite exhausted and tired, and the man had some sort of sway with him, and pleaded with him to take this tapestry, and said to Father Lucian that if circumstances ever arose that he would need to be found again, he could, in fact, be found at a place that I forget the name that I planned, but I will put it in the chat later as soon as I remember it and look at my notes.
A place you all know about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even you can see that in the side, beside this entry, you can even see a very crudely drawn map. But Father Lucian, afraid that the monks, if he told the other monks of where the Wanderer was, they would try to rid themselves of this burden, told no one, even lied to you. In fact, you remember this, Brother Vitruvius, that there were monks who had asked where to find the Wanderer, that this was a curse that he had sent upon the town and upon them, and he should take back what is his. And you remember Father Lucian outright saying that the Wanderer would not be found again. And you now find out that he is findable, and there is even a map to find him, though this was many, many years ago. However, to call him, it talks a little bit further on about a ritual wherein there is this large tree near this spot where it mentions, and you are to take that vial of water and drop it beside the tree, and it says that he will arrive shortly after.
I think the whole time I'm reading this through this journal, I'm mumbling things to myself along the lines of, all right, yes, well, this is surprising. Oh, glancing over at his body, you should have trusted us more. All right, so we'll do this. Okay. This map, is this drawn directly in the journal? Is it on a separate piece of paper?
It is on a separate piece of paper in the journal.
Oh, we'll need this. And I sort of pull it out and move it maybe towards the front of the journal. You, I'm sorry, I forget your name. And I'm pointing at Corla.
Me? Corla.
Yes, when you pulled this book out of the desk, did you also, you pulled out a bottle, yes?
Why?
We are going to need that. And I would sort of paraphrase everything that you said was in the journal, explaining, I think keeping back certain things that related directly to the church, and more just saying, the man he wanted us to find, this wanderer, we're going to need to summon him, and that is crucial to the ritual. This map will take us to where we must go. We must find the tree.
Well, I will.
How far is this place from Valaki, Brother Vitruvius?
From the map.
It is.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, it is, and let you fill in the blank.
Perfect. From the map, and the relative size of Valaki, and even Barovia, the village is on this map. You would see that it is probably a 3-day journey.
That doesn't faze Vitruvius at all. And we will have to journey for 3 days and 3 nights.
I think as soon as he says that, Corla just like her head snaps to fell.
Yeah, and I imagine that moment of attention that she had paid to Brother Vitruvius when he mentioned the Wanderer has sort of faded, and again she's just sort of staring into the middle distance for a few moments. Imagine she sort of feels your gaze on her, Corla, and she looks at you. I guess that means we are leaving as soon as possible.
But our vow to...
I could care less, to be honest. We need to find this Wanderer. We need to convince him to get our friends out, and then we can deal with what comes after.
Do you think they have 6 days? 3 there, 3 back?
I don't know. And she'll sort of start to pull herself up. When the tendril was in my ear, I saw this town. It was in a scrubland of some kind, and it was filled with monsters. Corla, awful, deformed, inhuman things. But Eli and John, I saw them there. They didn't seem to realize the danger they were in, but she sort of pauses for a moment. Their shadows were wrong. The shadows looked just as monstrous as the other denizens of this place. I don't know what that means. I don't know if we need to go. We need to go, and we need to do this. We just have to keep moving forward. We can't think about what ifs. We have to try and do this because it's the only choice we have at this point. And she's actually going to start moving towards the door.
Is there no way to get there faster?
She'll stop. Is there a livery or a stable or something, Brother Vitruvius?
Yeah, I would think there would be a stable, though very few horses are kept because you don't really need to go anywhere very far away. They didn't ever really leave Valaki, but the horses were still needed to drive carts or anything. But I would think if you probably only had 2 horses.
That is, of course, assuming that they survived. What is happening?
What, the horses?
The horses, yes.
Oh,
You just asked about them.
I asked
told
if
you that we have-
there was a stable or not.
Yes, we have two.
All right, great. Let's go.
Sorry, sometimes I think things and think I
Well,
say them.
I understand. Your father is Father Lucian is gone. So anyway, we need to move. And Fell's going to push the door open and walk back out into the church.
The area was titled in the map The Ruins of Perez. My apologies.
The Ruins of Perez.
Yes. And there's a tree next to these ruins.
All right. So then I will lead the others to the stable to see if the horses survived. Sorry, I went Eli for a minute there.
Yes, they are. They're outside. Well, they're outside. So are you guys going to try to open up the main door that you had barricaded? Or would you try and get out through the orphanage that you now have a key to?
I think I would probably just assume if we have the keys now, we should be able to go through the orphanage. That would be the easiest way.
Right. We can't waste too much time. Fine. Yes, let's go. And she'll start walking in the direction of the orphanage.
Absolutely. And so you walk and you get to that same hallway that you were earlier, and you see the door, and who opens it?
Corla's got the keys.
I got the keys. Yeah.
Perfect. So, Corla, you unlock the door, and it still doesn't move. There is something blockading it, but the door is now open. So you can get it open just a crack, but it immediately stops because there's something holding it back.
See, I told you they jammed the door.
Right. Corla, get out of the way. And Fel, as soon as you clear, she's just gonna lob a firebolt at it. She's gonna move far enough back, and just channeling her frustration at these little mini roadblocks, is just gonna start hurling firebolts at the door until whatever's blocking it burns.
Absolutely.
Hope it wasn't the children.
Oh, no.
That would be terrible.
So you open up this door eventually, and you do see that there was a couple of beds and a dresser that were blocking this.
I turn to Everchild and just look down at him and say, "She has a lot of anger in her. A never-ending burst of fire coming from her constantly."
You have
Everchild will give you a nod of you don't lie. And just a little bit of a pursed lip there.
It's just an observation.
And so you walk in, and at first you see nothing but rows of beds for the children that you had seen before. The tendrils are here, though, as well. Though not as concentrated as at Father Lucian's. Do you walk further into the room?
Yeah.
Corla, as you're walking in, you walk beside one of these beds, and you suddenly feel a hand grasp at your ankle.
I think out of reflex, she would kick to try to escape it, but then also look down to see what it is.
You look down and you see that a hand of a person who is under the bed and yelps in pain. A female voice yelps in pain.
How big is the hand? Is it like adult size or
Yeah.
kid size?
Adult size. Do you bend down to look, or?
I think I would cautiously look. What's it, Irina?
So sorry, you would bend down, or would you say?
I would kind of like step back and kind of look. You know how you kind of look without bending, but say her name, Irina.
You hear a very shaky voice coming from under the bed. Corla?
If that is you, you get out right now.
Is it really you?
Is it really you? I don't know. Is it really you? It's really me. I know I'm me, but I don't know if you are you. So you get out right now.
You hear some whispering underneath the bed. There are multiple whispers that come, and eventually you see Irina kind of pop out from underneath the bed. She looks at you very warily, and when she sees Fel, she screams in fear.
Oh, no. This is...
Yeah, no. It's actually me. That other thing was a doppelganger.
This is real Fel. She okay, kind of.
Nah.
Yeah, you see that Irina has pulled not pulled, she had a dagger with her, and she holds it out in front of her, and you hear her scream out when she had seen Fel. I won't let you take the children.
I'm not going to take the damn children. Where are the children? Are they like around her, Megan? Were they also under the bed?
If you were to look down, you don't see them there, but if you were to look down, you would see there are like little clusters of children under the beds.
So yeah, Fel will kind of kneel down to see that, kind of nod, and then stand up. Look, Irina, shite. And she'll look over to the rest of you. We can't leave them here, but I don't know where else to send them.
It's not safe here. No, maybe they can go to the inn of the
the Blue Water?
Blue, yes, and
Do I know Irina?
Yes, you absolutely would. You would know that she was brought in by some others by from these other three. She was brought in to be kept safe, and she had been taking care of the children ever since.
I would step toward her. Irina. It is okay. I have been with them for a little while. You can trust them. They are good. You have the children safely with you.
Irina would relax and put the blade down at seeing you, Brother Vitruvius, and a huge sigh of relief. She would nod. Yes, they're all safe.
Look, Irina, I think I gave you a gemstone not long after we deposited you here. That sounds awful, but anyway. Maybe I think Corla has the right idea. If you take the children to the Blue Water Inn, I think that gemstone is worth at least 9, maybe 10 gold pieces. That should be enough to get you all rooms. You need to go there quickly, as in right now.
Yes, you must take the children to safety.
And tell them I sent you.
Where are all the other monks? Where's Father Lucian?
We don't have time. We don't have time to answer these questions. You need to go.
Give me a moment. We have 3 days ahead of us. We can spare another 5 minutes. Go see to the horses. They're outside, if that is what you need.
Yeah, Fel, I'll actually go do that.
And I think Corla would, well, knowing what Brother Vitruvius is going to start saying, Corla is going to start maybe ushering the children outside.
Yeah, they slowly, you see, there's probably a dozen children, and they begin to climb out from underneath the bed, and they look so fearful, eyes wide. They're all very, very quiet.
I would, as they start to move toward Corla, I would gesture to one of them, and probably, I imagine a girl. She's maybe one of the older ones, around 11 or 12. Serena, you stay here with Irina. I will talk with you as well. And I look to Corla. She will understand what I have to say. It will be better for her to relay to the others.
Corla just silently nods and turns and goes with the children, the rest of them.
Irina. There is no other way to say this. And Serena, you must understand. I know you understand death. And you understand that things happen outside of our ability to control them. What has happened here is an evil that we have held at bay for far too long, and it has taken hold. As far as we know, all of the other monks are gone. And I laid Father Lucian, his eyes closed myself. I am the last monk in Vallaki. I guess I am now Father Vitruvius, until it is official. But you must not lie to the other children. Be honest with them. In Serena, I know you will help the younger ones to understand what has happened. Myself and the others, we have to travel to a place. It will take us several days, but if we are successful, then hopefully this will all go away. And if we are not successful, it may not matter anymore. But I trust you, Irina, and Serena, to keep these children safe.
Irina nods and had taken Serena's hand as you were talking. I will keep the children safe. There is no one else here either. The workers, those who helped with the orphanage, they gave their lives to protect the children. I'm all that's left.
We are all that is left. You, me, Serena, and the other children. As long as we are here, as long as you and the children are here, there is still hope.
You see Irina's face falter and shudder for a moment with the pain. But she quickly takes a deep breath, stands straight, and gives you a resolute nod.
Serena, take this. And with it to keep the Morning Lord close to your heart. And I will reach into my robes and pull out what is probably a really old, maybe even tarnished looking holy symbol of the Thunder, the Morning Lord. Something that I had always held on to despite the shifting in the mission of the church. And I would remove it and give it to the girl.
Serena would hesitantly take it. You know that she has been at the orphanage probably the longest out of all the children. Some would say that she was a very rambunctious child. She had a fierce loyalty over them, but her attitude was sometimes a lot. But now she's silent, but she still looks at you with those eyes that you remember, this flash of almost indignation, the eyes that you might have been told about a lot from the other helpers with her as she takes it. And Irina turns and she follows the children. And you see, Brother Vitruvius, that she bears no mark on her neck that she had when she had come in. She turns around quickly. Brother Vitruvius, I don't have the heart to tell the others, but Lancelot, he ran out when this attack happened. It all happened so quick. He bolted. I don't know where he went. I'm sorry.
I will tell them. He was a dog. He will fend for himself, I'm sure.
Irina would nod and turn and walk out. Fel and Corla. As you leave, you'd see that this entrance as well has been blocked off, barricaded against, and you can see that even the tendrils reach here. And it takes a bit of time, but you're able to remove the barricades, and you're able to leave. And you feel for the first time in a very long time the air of Barovia, not the sunlight, because it is this constant gray cloudiness, but it's something, and you're able to leave. And as soon as you do so, you immediately see the Golden Wolf, the lycanthropes surrounding the church, and quickly word goes through them, and immediately, within a few moments, the Vixen is approaching you. Corla, Fel, You're alive.
We are.
Yes, we are. And Fella's actually going to reach into her bag and, clearly hesitant to touch this thing, she's going to pull out the head of the Fell doppelganger. And she's going to, I imagine she practically shoves it into the Vixen's arms and says, "We are going to be leaving for a short time and we will be back soon." She's actually going to start moving towards the stables as quick as she can.
Leaving? What? Leaving where? You still have the two others.
Can we see from the outside the tendrils, or have the tendrils gotten outside this building, or are they just inside?
You see that for now they are just inside. As soon as you had broken through that doorway, there are no tendrils that seep over it into the outside.
We do not do this lightly, but there is evil afoot here, and we must, to save this town, we must stop it, and it is more important than our deal with the Watcher Lady.
The Vixen just kind of shakes her head. While you were gone, we went looking for the others. If you would still like to know what we found. Korla, your other has been located, and we have cornered her in the theater.
If you can keep her there, I will deal with her when I get back.
She is not happy. I don't think anyone would be. She has already killed a few of my men, but we will do our best.
And whatever you do, do not go in there. And she points to the orphanage and the church.
Yeah, I think the Vixen sees all the children behind you and just kind of nods. Were there any other survivors? What about Eli and Jean?
No. They are not here.
I see. Oh. Right. Well, the other one, Jean's other, we could not find her, but we did find, and she is kind of, we think that, she left Vallaki.
Do you know in what direction that she left to?
As far as we can guess, she went south. Towards the village of Barovia and the castle.
Oh dear.
Those are the only two things that are in that direction.
What direction is the ruins of Perez?
They are west. Yeah, they are more westerly, but also south. But where she had said they're more east-south, and you guys are kind of going southwest.
Okay, so yeah, kind of opposite direction, but not quite.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you see Jean before we get back, ask her where she's been. And if she doesn't have some wild story to tell you, it is probably not real, Jean.
Right. Of course. I will tell the Lady Watcher where you are going. I doubt she will be pleased.
This is more important.
Where are the children going?
I was hoping that you would let them stay at the Blue Water Inn. Their home here is now not suitable.
Of course. Of course, yes. We will take them.
Thank you very much. These poor children, they have gone through so much in their short lives already, and they just need a home. Feel safe.
I understand.
Do you? Because this is important. They need a place that they can feel safe.
St. Andrel was my home for a very long time.
Then you do understand.
I do. And I will keep them safe.
Thank you.
And I think it's about that time that Irina and the Everchild and Brother Vitruvius come out. And I think that is where we're going to take a short break. And we will jump back in with what you guys decide to do and where you guys decide to go. So we will be back in a few. See you then. All right, and we are back. And you are all, well, I'm going to say that, Corla, do you leave the children with the vixen? Because she offers to take them. Well, not her, but some members of the Golden Wolf would offer to take them.
Yes, I would.
So they would take the children and Irina, and actually also offer to bring you guys 2 more horses, so that you each would have a horse instead of having to share 2.
That would be most appreciated. Thank you.
So, but the horses are in the stalls. They are fine. There's no weird tendrils or really anything odd. They just look like normal horses, healthy and happy. You might notice that Fel, I think you would notice, kind of the difference between like a riding horse and like a workhorse kind of thing, and you can see that they are definitely more workhorses, so maybe probably won't be quite as used to the long distance riding that you will be embarking on. But yeah, you guys will be kind of tacking up the horses at this point.
Yeah, I imagine Fel, as a duke's daughter, and I imagine she doesn't ride too often since she's largely confined to Daggerford, is while, they've been having their conversations with the vixen and with the children with Irina, she's been sort of like struggling to like adjust the saddles and just kind of get everything all put together. But I imagine maybe either Corla or Brother Vitruvius, perhaps being a bit more well-traveled, are able to assist with that before we set off.
Yeah, Corla wasn't always a city girl, but it is a little bit rusty before she starts to figure out how to properly outfit the horses.
I mean, normally we have to hook them up to a plow. We don't normally put saddles on them. But a buckle is a buckle, yes? You'll take this one. I'll take that old gray mare. She ain't what she used to be.
Right, whatever works.
So as you're sorry.
You got it.
That word is so entertaining, Schmutz.
I'm staring at the overlay. I should be able to see that I had.
I was like, just this
here.
little speck. I was like, I'm just going to do it in the chat, not draw attention to it. Too late.
Nope, you gotta draw attention to it. Sorry, it made me laugh. The perils of eating on camera.
So, you get hooked up. You get saddled up and ready. The others, 2 members of the Golden Wolf will bring you 2 more. Actually, they would bring 1 horse and 1 donkey for Everchild.
Makes sense.
Yep. So he has a very small horse, donkey, and
Old Bill.
yeah. And soon enough, you guys are saddled up and you are ready to go. The vixen stops you, Corla, and there is something that I must tell you before you leave. Something very unfortunate happened while you were in the in St. Andrew's. The young Baronet Victor, he attacked some of the members of the Golden Wolf.
Oh no. What have you done with him?
He is recovering. The doctor thinks that he will make a full recovery.
Did he... You said he killed? Or just attacked?
He attacked. They were very badly wounded. Johannes, we don't know if he will make the night.
I am sorry to hear that. The Baronet, he is... I can only assume he is angry with what has happened.
He is young. He is confused.
He has lost everything.
There are some who think that we should rid Vallaki of the bloodline.
He is but a child.
He is still a Valakovich.
By name only now.
Right. But if he grows up, there may be issues. The Lady Watcher is calling for the other nobles to decide the fate of Victor.
I do not think that is wise. She should show mercy. Show that her rule will be better than the Baron's rule. That she is more human than he was.
I am afraid I am not very good at politics, but I have heard that he will be given a choice. If he renounces the name of Valakovich and instead takes on the name of Watcher, he will be allowed to be the next heir under the Lady Watcher. But that includes, well, it's complicated when there is the mother as well. I just thought I would let you know, in case so you're not in for a surprise when you come back.
Thank you. I hope we are not too long.
The vixen nods and steps away from your horse. I will send some ravens with you as long as I can. They will watch over you for at least the first day and night.
Thank you.
That is the most I can give.
And please, we do not leave lightly. We are searching for someone to help with the situation in St. Andrew's Church. It is of great importance. And please keep people away from there.
We will, as well as the theater. Oh, we'll try.
Thank you.
She nods to you and to Fel and to Brother Vitruvius and to Everchild as she steps away and begins commanding the others to get into different positions and begin to guard St. Andrew's Church. And you all begin to trot out of the town that looks so different from when you first arrived. The silence is almost deafening as you see the empty, abandoned stalls, the torn down and dirtied tents, the empty spots where fire jugglers and acrobats once stood and performed. You also see the lack of the forced smiles you see a pile of those devices, those metal devices that force smiles, laying in a pile, a heap. The people now do not smile. For once, probably, possibly in their lives, they walk around with their true emotions showing. And as you leave, you see the corpses of the 2 guards. And you see upon the wall, Strahd is Lord, written in their blood on the doors as you leave. What are you all thinking? What are you doing for this first leg? You notice, Corla, you notice there are many ravens in the trees. You don't know how many of them are were-ravens or just birds, but they all watch over you as you begin riding down the path.
I think Corla's a little bit uneasy seeing how many there is, but she'd like to believe that they are friends right now. So we'll continue the path.
Imagine Fell is sort of maybe like right behind Brother Vitruvius, because I think he's the one that has the map. Just sort of silent, not even really looking around too much, just focused on the road ahead. She looks tired. I imagine she looks tired, haggard, just sort of beaten down a little bit. I imagine her shoulders are slumped a little bit, but she is focused just almost single-mindedly on the road ahead. Clearly intending to push until we cannot push anymore for the day.
When you left, it's probably, gosh, all the days seem to be one. You've done so much.
It all blurs together.
Yeah. I imagine it's probably midday, so you won't get too many hours in before it begins to get dark. And you probably know that it's probably not the best to travel at night. So if you all would you begin to bunker down once it begins to get darker?
Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, I think Fell would definitely try to push as much as we can, but when it gets like too dark to press forward, then she would concede to making a camp effectively.
And no risk to hobbling the horses in the dark. That would be
Right.
bad.
So you make camp probably near the path. And you sit by the fire. Would you like to do anything, say anything?
Yeah, I think Fell, after a few moments of just sort of staring into the flames, would get up and sort of walk over to you, Corla, kind of tap you on the shoulder and just say, do you have a moment?
Of course, for you, for sure.
She kind of tilts her head to the side at that, thank you, and then she'll sort of move off into the trees, leaving Brother Vitruvius by his lonesome.
Corla will follow.
Pray.
So, how are you doing? I know that's a stupid question, but how are you doing?
I am trying not to think about it too much. Because when I do, it hurts. And you?
She smiles, about the same, actually. In fact, exactly the same. I know when me and Jean were having our shouting match back in the church that I said that I don't trust you. And down in the Valakovich family crypts where we fought that undead thing that had been twisted by magic, Jean said that we couldn't afford to trust anybody, including each other. And I've been thinking about that as we've been writing, and I don't see how that's going to work, to be honest. I mean, I don't trust, and she'll kind of glance back towards the direction of the campfire. I don't trust the Everchild's sudden reappearance. I know it's wonderful and unexpected, but this place has given us nothing but sorrow and lies and illusions and just utter despair since we crossed through the mist, or since you ended up in the Durst household. I mean, I think, honestly, we have no choice but to trust each other. And it's mainly because I don't know you. I mean, I probably talk too much. I know Eli definitely talks too much. But, you know, you're so quiet. It feels like you're just watching us sometimes. And it's a little disconcerting, you know, that and the whole bloodthirst thing. But I guess what I wanted to say to you is, if you see something, if you have an idea, don't be afraid to say something, because I'll be honest, Corla, and I imagine she kind of like glances away and then looks back at you. I have no fucking idea what I'm doing right now. I am literally just moving forward because, like you said, thinking about anything else is just, it's crushing.
It's too painful.
Right. So, I guess that's about it. Well, there's one more thing. And she kind of clears her throat for a moment and then looks up at you and she says, I need you to do me a favor. I just need you to say out loud right now that everything is going to be okay. Even if you don't believe it, just I need to hear someone besides me say that everything is going to be okay.
I think at this, Corla puts her hands on your shoulders. Not like Father Lucian did, but gently. And she looks you in the eyes. It is going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
She nods, and I imagine she'll very quickly and a little awkwardly sort of embrace you and then step back. Thank you, Corla. I appreciate it. And I really hope we can figure this out because, well, I just really hope we can figure this out. So.
Phil, I may not say much. I may be harsh. I may be hard to like sometimes. I understand this. I may seem mean, and slow to trust, but I have been betrayed by those I thought were my friends. And I know that pain, and I would never inflict it on someone I thought was my friend. So, I want you to know, and I want you to believe me when I tell you this. You can trust me because I am your friend.
I imagine for a moment she looks almost a little stricken, a little surprised. She wasn't expecting this, and then she nods slowly. Thank you, Corla. I appreciate it.
We are in this together.
We are. I just... Go ahead.
It will be okay. I have to believe that.
Right. Thank you for that and for everything that you've done up until this point. Yeah. And she just sort of smiles, and then she'll just sort of walk back to the camp.
And Corla will watch her go. We'll stay for a little moment first, and then after a moment, we'll approach back to the fire.
And I think as you walk back to the campsite and sit down with the others, a group, but still empty of at least a few. We'll pan up for a moment to the moon, shining bright, but covered by the sky. And we hear the howl of at first a single wolf crying out. And then another joins, and another, and another, and another. And that is where we will end our session. All right. And that was the end of session 25. Thank you, everyone who is watching, and thank you to my amazing players for playing and doing such an absolute amazing job of helping bring this story and setting to life. So yeah, our next session will be on the 28th. And I would just like, if you hadn't noticed, the overlay and all the screens are different. They are, improved, I think. They're super badass, and they were done by the very talented Lloyd Collins. And if you want overlays that are this awesome for your games, I put the link to his Fiverr below, where you can go and you can support him. And as well, I have the links of the YouTubes and the Twitters of all these fine players also in the comments or the description down below. As well, I don't do this often, but I'm going to plug a book. We just hit a milestone on Drive-Thru-RPG. We actually got gold medal we got a gold medal on Drive-Thru-RPG, which is super, super cool. That means we are, one of the, I think it's like the top 1% sellers on Drive-Thru-RPG, which is very, very cool. So, what is this book? This is a setting supplement called The Ravaged Wasteland of Crifoth, that you can see in 3 screens.
I feel so left out.
No!
We gotta get Jason a copy.
So it is a post-apocalyptic setting where demons have taken over. It's very dark, sunny. It's very gritty and dark. And the art in here is just absolutely amazing by the amazing Brandish Gilhelm from Runehammer Games. And it is so cool and amazing, and you can pick up a copy on Drive-Thru-RPG, or you can click on the link below. We would really appreciate it. So again, thank you everyone for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a good night.